And I just want to welcome everybody to today's spotlight. And I got to be honest, I am really freaking excited for this one. If you're here, chances are you know how to sell, but maybe you're not seeing the success that you know you're capable of. And if it does sound like you, then trust me, you're in the right place today. Today's story is going to resonate with a lot of people, especially those who might have built successful careers in sales before jumping into real estate. If you ever felt like you're doing all the things right, you're showing up, following the script, putting in the hours, but the results just aren't there, you're going to love this one. I'm going to introduce you guys to Max. Max is a seasoned sales pro. He spent decades dominating the auto sales industry, negotiating, closing, and doing all the stuff we all do, right? Building relationships. At the heart of every sales business, building relationships. Max is a crackerjack salesman if I've ever met one, but like many of us, he wanted more, right? And he made this leap into real estate to chase the bigger deals and the long-term wealth. Now, you guys are going to get to hear directly from Max about his journey, but he started at Keller Williams, and he's going to be the first one to tell you that the mentorship and the training was solid, but something just wasn't clicking. He followed a system, did what he was supposed to do, but maybe just wasn't closing yet because the leads weren't converting. And sometimes we get into these systems and they just turn out to be a little bit of fluff. And all of us start to think when we start hitting these roadblocks, the question we all ask ourselves, is it me? But Max didn't forget how to sell. He just might not have had the right platform. And so we fast forward to today. Max has 29 property management accounts signed in the year of 2024. In 2024, he closed 7 transactions, and he has an 8% Zillow lead conversion rate that has me personally asking, why aren't we just feeding this guy more?
Why aren't you?
That's what, and Max, as I was preparing for this, that's what I was asking myself.
I could have bailed on this meeting and been in front of a customer.
And so, Max, in the first 2 months of 2025, already 9 property management accounts. You've already closed 1 deal, and I know you have several in the pipeline. I'm kind of forecasting your year, and I'm looking at your goals, and I'm going to say you're probably going to do 15 to 20 closings this year, along with probably like 35 to 40 property management accounts. By my math, that's around 150K to 200K in net commission, and only your second year in real estate.
I think in terms of deals, I try not to break it down into dollar signs because the dollars will follow the deals, really.
That's true. That's true. But I like to forecast money, so
I'll take it.
It's part of what I got to do. So I've got a list of questions for you, Max. But all of you watching today, this is also your opportunity to get to learn from Max. So use the chat, please. Drop your questions in as we go, and please take full advantage of the time that we have with someone who's not only producing, but doing it in a way that's very repeatable for all of us. Max, I'll get off my monologue and kick over to you, man.
No, what you said there, everything was relevant there. I'll go back even further. I decided at an early age that I didn't want a real job, a 9 to 5. So my first real sales job was with Sears, doing in-home sales, windows, doors, siding. And they have training there, 10 steps, but I only remember a few of them. But the few that I remember have served me well for decades. So I'd go into people's houses, sell them, $10,000, $20,000 worth of windows and leave with an order. And when the property management thing came up, asking me to go into people's houses and walk out with an order, I was like, I know how to do that. And then I started the car business, and I owned my own dealership for about 15 years, first wholesale, then to retail. And I had employees and doing sales and stuff like that. But it's the same, but it's different. But it is a natural transition, marketing, showing the product, financing, but especially negotiation has what's really served me well, taking that past experience. But another thing is that when you're in an industry so long, and I'm probably talking to a lot of people in here, you work on instinct a lot, right? And your base fundamentals are there, but they've got layers stacked on top of them from all this other knowledge that you've acquired, and maybe your toolkit's a little too big, and you got to scale it back a little bit. Or you're reaching in the tool drawer to grab, my references are going to be auto-related, to grab more tools than you need for a job. And the thing with Keller Williams, like you said, they have the training, they have the mentorship. They don't have a process, and they don't have accountability. And that's what I found here at C2 that has made the difference for me, is a process which I didn't have before. Like I said, for a long time, I was working off instinct. And the accountability, right? If I don't show up Tuesday and Friday, you're going to take my leads away, right? So, and it works. You know, that's how it should work, really, because you're investing a lot in this thing. You want people that are going to take advantage of it. That's where I saw the difference. The mentor that I had at KW was a really seasoned guy, sells 20 million a year without really even trying, it seems. And he had been to a few brokerages, and one of the first things he told me, and it stuck with me. Unfortunately, it stuck with me, or for better or for worse. He said, none of them give you anything. And he was wrong, because I found C2. I had this license, and I knew that there was another way to make money with it rather than just the traditional knocking on doors, sending out flyers, blah, blah, blah. I already know the numbers on that. I know the dollar numbers, and I know the percentage numbers. I know it doesn't work. I won't say it doesn't work, but without targeting, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I was kind of adrift.
So I want to pick apart one thing you just said, because it really stood out to me. Too many tools in the toolbox. I think that's a really common thing, right? In any sales industry, us as entrepreneurs, you've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. Oh, there's your buddy that we were talking about earlier. Nice.
This is Gretel.
What's up, Gretel? So too many tools in the toolbox. Like this resonates so much, like that shiny object syndrome, so to speak, right? We're always looking for that flashy new thing. We're trying to pull back on old experiences that maybe don't relate. And we're trying to do too many things at once. So how have you kind of removed some tools from your toolbox or made sure that you're only focused on the ones that matter?
So I can say this to the more experienced guys. You know, why does a new guy perform just as well as a more experienced guy? Process, right? So I had to not necessarily unlearn, but kind of create a blank slate where this process, the ALM and the LP Mama, and seriously, and the we need a name for it, but the discovery call script that we developed at the last big meeting for the PM deals, I went all in on that framework. This is why it took me a while to find my footing. I went all in on that framework and not doing what I used to do. I'm like, I'm going to do this now. I'm going to try it. I told myself, I'm going to try a different way. I wouldn't do it this way, but I can see the potential. I'm going to try it. And I try it and it starts working. And now I'm more and more regimented with doing that LP Mama and that discovery call script. I always have it with me. I go to the store, I take my little folder with me. If someone calls, I've got that thing in front of me, even though I probably have most of it memorized. It helps to glance at it during a conversation.
Yeah.
So the short answer is I forgot a lot of stuff and focused on this new process in front of me.
I really admire your ability to be humble in that process because you have had such a long career, done so much entrepreneurship, found so much success in different ways. I really admire you like humbling yourself to say, hey, there's a different process and I'm going to try it. And if it works, then I'm going to go all in. At what point did you know you were going to go all in?
Well, if you don't humble yourself, the market will. When I started having some deals, when the second, third, fourth deal started coming through, that's when I started, really getting more towards, okay, this is a good framework I can use during these walkthroughs. I mean, it was there, but I didn't really see it. You know what I mean? I was doing a lot of opening doors. Hey, isn't this fun to look at houses? Without really driving them towards that. Here's a BRBC. Here's a pre-qualification. Let's make an offer.
Yeah.
And so now I reverse engineer the whole thing. How do I get offer to pre-approval to show a home to come and make an appointment? I do have a lot of stuff reverse engineering it.
I love that, Max. That was something through my last week. I've been talking a lot with people who are, much further along in their careers than I am. And that was the number one thing that was repeated is the same thing that you just said. And so I want everybody here in the call to kind of really pay attention to that is start with that end in mind. If we are very clear on what it is, that end goal we want, and even if it's just as simple as closing an escrow, right? We need to reverse engineer then those steps that it takes to get there. And then if we can do that, it's very simple to find what we want in life, right? We can be very intentional about what steps we're going to take next and what that's going to lead to. So cool that you just repeated that too.
When I walk my dogs to the park, we walk to the park, slow, sniff some flowers and, chase a squirrel. When we walk back, they walk back fast. They know where they're going.
Yeah. Great analogy. Once you've been there before, it's quick,
They
right?
like being home. That closing deal, that signature, that pen on paper, that's home. They like
Yeah.
going home. Let's go home.
Yeah. Yeah. Love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just made it up. Pretty good.
Okay, so going back to those early days when you were doing the Keller Williams and you're kind of trying to figure it out, you had the great mentor. What were some of your kind of biggest frustrations from those first early days?
Well, part of this, I'm a seasoned salesperson, right? I thought I could kick in the door and start writing some deals. I didn't even want to be a realtor. I didn't want a team. I said, I can do this myself. I've been doing these other things myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I hit the reality of traditional marketing. I didn't want to do it because I just know the numbers. And I was like, I need someone, there's got to be a better way out there. So that was it. It was just like hitting the wall. Like I felt like, I could sell 100 homes.
Right.
But then in practice, it just wasn't working the way that I had imagined in my head. And, you can go back to process. I didn't have one, right? But even if I did have one, how much success would I have when they're not really giving you anything?
Yeah. So then let's look at those like first 90 days of the team, because you went through your boot camp, you got on an investment partner, and then you started making things happen pretty quickly there after that. So what specific actions do you think you took in those first 90 days that set you up for the success and created this momentum?
The way that the property management gives you small, consistent wins really keeps your spirits up, for one, which is it's an intangible, but it's important, right? But also it keeps your real estate sales muscles working, right? You're always talking about real estate, whether it's property management or the value of the home or the neighborhood. So you're always having these conversations. So, if you're just selling homes, I could see how, especially if you're newer, you can go long weeks, months without having too many real estate conversations. And the muscles are getting a little weak, right? You haven't been lifting. The wins it gave me there really helped to launch into getting some real estate sales, which, the sales cycle is longer, so I had to adjust to that a bit. I wasn't really using the LP Mama framework properly. I was using it more of a phone tool where I should have been using it in person. So now I'm using the ALM as Zillow wants us to start doing now, the ALM for the phone call, and then the LP Mama for the in-person. So now I have a presentation structure. And with that, it's easier to get to yes, or at least get to the next step.
Very cool. And I want to go deep on that presentation structure here in a minute. But before we transition, I think something you said is so important, because so much of this business, and this isn't just real estate, and you can speak to this in any level of sales, keeping your spirit up, as you coined it, is so important. That mindset that goes into being able to win, right? When you can have small wins and small victories and then build upon that momentum, winning breeds winning. And so if you can create some wins early on and use that momentum to carry you forward, it's pretty incredible. And I don't know if you're familiar with the stat, Max, but 71% of real estate agents didn't sell a house in 2024. So we're in a time where we had the lowest sales since 1985 in 2024. And in 2023, we had the previous record prior to 1985. So the last 2 years have been tough. So like you said, people aren't getting the at-bats. They need to stay strong.
You need reps.
You need reps. So really well said. In 2024, you signed 26 property management accounts, sold 7 homes. So what's been the key of making those work together? Because although there are similarities, they are real estate, they're still kind of two different rabbits, right?
Well, yeah, keeping the motivation high, right? I haven't really, that's a tough one. And that was one of the questions that you had in this list that I was having a hard time answering, honestly. Maybe I can improve on that myself. But I just don't see a whole difference of it. It's a client and they need a product.
So what it sounds like from your answer, it sounds like what you're actually saying is they're not that different because they're still real estate related. And you have maybe, like I've seen you, didn't you sign a Zillow account up for property management services?
Yeah.
And so like that's proof right there. Like just because they're slightly different doesn't mean you can't use them in both cases. And going back to your tools in the tool shed, right? Like now you have a couple tools in your tool shed that you maybe can pull out at the right time.
Keep asking questions, you'll get there.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of alluded to this before already, and this is where I wanted to dive deep is your Zillow conversion rate is 8%, which is, guys, absolutely amazing in California. Like that is a super, super high conversion rate. Zillow converts on average in California around 3%. A good conversion rate is considered 5%. Max is at 8%. The guy's only been in real estate for 1 year, right? So it's only going to get better from here. What are you doing differently that's making these leads actually close?
Well, we did touch on it is going from opening doors and, hey, wow, that's a nice kitchen. Oh, look at that garage, to following a process with the LP Mama.
Yeah.
Get them on the phone with the lender at the first meeting. If they have a lender, get the lender's information. Because no money, no deal. It actually did take me a while to get that worked out. I got a couple relationships now that I can use, and then I've checked out this Zillow home loan thing, so I'm kind of interested in taking another look at that. So creating the structure for the presentation really helped, because I like a lot of the people on this call, maybe everyone on the call, I feel like I'm still underperforming. So that helped a lot, and I like to have on the third meeting, something's got to happen. So throughout the first, maybe second, and into the third meeting, I'm trying to drive things a little farther. Whereas by the third meeting, we got to make a decision. Whereas prior, I've probably shown some people houses 7, 8 times. I didn't know any better, right? And also I was thinking in the back of my head, I was thinking, well, this is still good to get practice in, right? But now I've got some practice in, I've got a process, so we can't waste leads. Now we got to, the rubber's got to hit the road. I know it sounds repetitive, but really that's what's helped me. LP Mama, Ford, and then I put in a T for timeline. So you just run it right down the side of your little sheet you're working on, or if you're doing it on your phone.
LP Mamat or something.
LP Mamat and Ford. If you can get one entry next to each one of those, you know enough about that client to serve him and get him a good deal, or her.
I love it. So let's go deeper on this presentation because you keep alluding to it. So let's go deep on it. So you do your ALM on Zillow. On that call, are you mentioning the BRBC at all?
Not on the phone call.
How come?
Normally Zillow just sends it right out. But at the first meeting, I'll have the touring agreement. I think Titus said, and I know this already, but I wasn't doing it. Titus said it's good to bring a printed copy and have them sign it so they get used to signing stuff. And that makes a lot of sense. So I like that. So I bring a printed copy of a RPA. I bring the BRBC. For property management deals, I bring the whole package with me because some people don't DocuSign, or some people you're going to lose once you walk out that door, and I'll have them sign it right there.
Yeah.
Just see if I can make it stick. It's worth a shot.
I love it.
Not everyone works on their phone. I mean, I don't. I don't know what Instagram looks like. I've never been on it. I guess I'm good for those kind of clients.
But I love that though, because like specifically Zillow is such a digital experience and they've built it to be that way. I love that you're actually changing the script on it a little bit and you're kind of creating a moment of taking it out of the digital and bringing it to the physical, right? Because we don't live in a digital world. We are still people. We still interact. We still touch. We still converse and all these things. And so you're removing that digital by bringing something physical for them to touch and feel, to sign, and to review in person. And even though I'm a super digital person, Max, I hate reading things on my phone and on my computer. I still like to have them printed, right? So the RPA is 17, 18 pages. Like I would really appreciate having that printed personally. So I think that's huge that you do that. So, okay, so you book an ALM, you don't discuss the buyer rep, you get there in person. Do you confirm the appointment before you meet them in person? What does that look like?
You know what? I'm going to start doing that now. I haven't always done it because I'm like, well, if they don't show up, I can guilt trip them into another appointment. But if it's far, yeah, I definitely want to confirm it. But going through this Zillow training, I'm going to start confirming every appointment. And even another level below that is there above that, they're training you to confirm the appointment and every address that you're going to go see in that text message. So I'm going to start moving forward that way.
Love that.
Another thing I learned from it, this might be a little off topic, but I don't know. I didn't know what a buyer packet was. I'd come out with one MLS listing. But now I'm working on, I got my bullet points, buyer packet.
Nice.
So I'm going to start showing up with that. I think maybe that can help me a little bit too.
I love it. And that's just another physical product for you to bring and to take them out of the digital world. I love it.
Not too old to learn.
And you kind of get into that more presentation, then you have something to present as opposed to just all these theories, right?
Yeah, something concrete they can take home with them. That said, business card gets stuck between the seat and the console. They lose that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you're going to the appointment now. Are you getting there first or are they getting there first?
I'm there first, 100%.
And what are the first thing you do when you show up?
Usually I'll open up the house, turn on the lights, all that, and be waiting on the porch.
Awesome. Okay, so you're waiting on the porch. They drive up. What do?
Welcome. And then I, just go over to the house real quick and take a look around.
But let's go granular. Let's go granular.
I don't hover. I'll
Let's go
stay in the
granular, though, for
kitchen or
those-
the dining room and wait for
Let's go
them.
granular for all the people who aren't sure, that haven't done this yet, or maybe aren't sure to do it there.
Sure.
In the car, are you walking out to their car or are you waiting on the porch for them to approach?
I'll let them come to me.
You wait them on the porch. Okay. Do you have a little conversation on the porch or do you guys go straight to the home?
I have a brief conversation, highlights of the home, and I might touch on something we talked about on the phone. And they're not really going to pay much attention. They want to see the house.
Yep. Okay, perfect. So you're in their mindset. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. Max is in their mindset. He knows what they want, right? So then you go inside the house and you already said it. You don't hover. So you're kind of hanging out in the living room area. They're walking around. How do you kind of back up conversation from there?
Well, I don't ask them if they liked it because they'll tell you. I'll ask about certain points of it and what was important to them. Like if I know that they like the kitchen or I know they like backyards, I'll dive more into that. I might ask them about what else they've seen, and I'll start asking them a little bit about financing. Basically, I'm going through my LP Mama. How's this pricing? Have you talked to any lenders? The conversation about the house is not too deep, really. I'm looking for the deal.
And so by getting that deal, you're focusing more on that relationship and on that person. Is that right?
Yeah, seeing where they're at as far as finances go, what they've done as far, how they're driving a new Tesla. Oh, that's nice. How'd you pick that one up? Write a check or did you finance it? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because you can be relatively direct with people once you build a rapport and get that financing information. It's like a doctor.
Right.
I wouldn't tell you about the wart on the bottom of my foot, but I'd tell a doctor.
Yeah, because it's expected, right? You should have that type of conversation.
Yes. Over time, if you can learn one thing about a lot of things, you can build rapport with anybody. Someone likes to sew. Oh, my mom used to have a Singer sewing machine. Someone likes to cut down trees. Oh, I hate trees. I love it when they're cut down. Great. I knew an arborist once out in Arizona. So if you know one thing about a lot of stuff, you can build rapport with pretty much anybody. And once you've built that rapport, you can ask the important questions that are going to drive the deal. Like, have you talked to a lender? I don't really need to know their credit score because usually they'll just blurt it out if it's a good one. Do you have any money saved up? Stuff like that. LP Mama.
So LP Mama, guys, location, price, mortgage, agent, motivation, and appointment, right? So we're moving to that appointment now, Max, and you add timeline in there. So, but we're going back to that appointment, right? So what do you do to get back onto appointment?
So I'll get some feedback. Let's say, for example, we looked at 3. Okay, if one of those 3 is great, then I'll start pushing for a pre-qual. If they're not great, I want to try to set up something for the next weekend or whenever they're available again. Well, let's keep them excited, right? Because it is fun.
Yeah,
and especially when you know that you can buy.
Right.
So if you've done some of your LP Mama steps, they're relatively qualified. If they're not, where they're at in your funnel, and you might want to show them a couple more another time to get that rapport a little deeper. They see it twice, it's harder to forget you.
Yep.
So yeah, you're just asking for some feedback and saying, let's see what comes up on the market this week. The market's been pretty active, or something like, I'm on a big team. Let me reach out to my team and see what kind of off-market stuff they have that we might be able to look at during the week. I know you're really busy, Mr. and Mrs. Client. During the week, I can go to some of these homes that you may be interested in and do a text video and send you some video of the home. And then if we like it, maybe Saturday we go take a look in person. And I don't mind doing that. I mean, it kind of take a break from your day, go out and look at a couple houses, take some video, and it's being proactive.
Yeah, I love that. You need to get out of the house a little bit, right? You got to go outside the house to find a little bit of business, go see some properties, touch the physical world. And if you can save your clients some time on that groundwork, it goes a really long way in that building that trust, building that rapport that you referenced. So, really, really great stuff, Max. I think no money, no deal is my favorite line of this so far. I'm going to name it probably the YouTube link when we post the recording is no money, no deal.
You got to
Uh,
get the money.
that was my biggest takeaway for sure. There's been a lot, but I'm like really like stuck in on that one, focused in on.
Yeah, I have a local lender in Walnut Creek, and then I have another lady. She's also in Walnut Creek. She speaks Spanish. Feel them out a little bit, and then I'll lead into. I know Phil over at Cross Country Mortgage. I can get him on a call real quick, and I'll put us all on him on speakerphone, right there in the house, and I've had pretty good luck with that. Another thing it's done is if the people disappear on me, Phil's got their info. And
Right.
so, like, I did open house to them over the weekend. I got birthdays of all the people that I've ran applications with through them. So I'm going to start sending out some cards. I got their mailing addresses too. You don't always get that. I'd encourage everyone to start trying to get that from people, a mailing address, especially on your property management clients.
That's huge. That is huge.
So that's kind of how I transitioned into it. If they're Latino, I got a Spanish speaking lender, and that's worked really good because it's a big decision. They want to talk to someone that they can understand all the terms,
Right.
and I found that the lender actually helps me through the deal more than I'm working on it.
Yeah, for sure.
So you can do that with different cultures.
Yeah, if you have a really great partner, that's a huge deal. So, kind of now shifting gears to more like your routine, how you keep yourself organized. So, what does a day to day look like for you? And do you have any non negotiables that really you think drive your success?
Yeah, I saw these questions here, and I'm not the most disciplined person in the world by any means.
That's
Uh,
okay though. That's maybe something that people can take solace in knowing that they're similar to you.
So time blocking, time management's just big because, like I said, for a long time I was kind of on cruise control, right? I had routines in place, and now I got to upend them. So I try to set like 9 to noon for Sierra and calls, and just take a look at the MLS, see what's out there. Then noon or so, take a little break, maybe walk the dogs, and then after that, some people you get in touch with in the afternoon. Some people you can get in touch with in the morning. So I kind of section out the Sierra that way. And if you're diligent with the Sierra, which I wasn't always, I am now, you can look at times where you called people and when they answered, and you can kind of tailor your tasks going forward around that. So I've started to do that. Another thing of using the process and the tools that are here in place instead of the stuff that I used to know.
I love it. I love that. It's really intelligent because, yeah, some people are busy certain parts of the days, and other parts of the day they're ready to talk and they're ready to focus on their real estate goals. So that's really good insight. So something that I love that you've adopted and really gone all in on is using handwritten notes to build trust. Can you tell us a little bit about your handwritten note process, when you send them, why you send them, what you're sending, all that stuff? Yep.
For PM clients, I'm sending them a thank you for signing up with us. And then I'll probably put them on like a 6-month thing where I'll send out a market value on their home. For showings, I'll send them a thank you for showing, and I might print an MLS listing and just stuff it in there. It's just something, ninja selling, right? Provide some value.
Yeah.
And I've gotten a pretty good response. I learned it from my wife. I mean, her family sends cards for meeting up at Applebee's for dinner, and they'll send a card. And I was like, well, maybe that might be an effective tool. And so I started doing it, and I've gotten some really good response from it. But also, keep in mind, we'll remember the client, right? You meet them for an hour, you sign them up for a property management deal, but a week later, he doesn't remember who you are, to be honest with you. In most cases, you send that card, now you've kind of cemented that relationship. So whereas if he wanted to sell the home in 6-8 months, he might just call a realtor. But instead, now you've made 2 points of contact there. He's going to say, oh, this guy is a realtor. At least that's how it works out in my head.
And you referenced ninja selling. That's what ninja selling is all about, is earning mind share. And so by sending these things, what you're doing is earning mind share over the long term. And that takes reminding people. The average person knows 12 realtors. So you want to be the one that they think of first.
A good stat.
So Bindi asked, she loved that you're sending those sellers the 6-month comp. She said, what are you using to send that?
Oh, I just printed out from the MLS. It's real simple.
So Bindi, he's doing something really basic in order to keep it quick. He's going to send out a quick CMA that shows just some recent sales that are in that neighborhood that show them roughly what the value is, and that's going to trigger the ability to get conversation. If you go too intense on what you're trying to present, then they don't need to talk to you about it, right? And so if you send something really basic, your goal is to engage in a conversation, because all conversion lives in conversation.
Yeah, and you can handwrite, let me know your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. End it with a question that prompts them, right, to come next. Martin said, Max keeps it real. Love the old school style.
If I could touch on something, Kyle, that I wanted to on this meeting, because you had stressed the old school techniques. When I talked about working at Sears and how they had a training, right? Any training you go to or any sales book you read, what's the number one step? Build rapport. Doesn't change, right? So that one is there. But one that's always stuck with me and has served me well, they called it price conditioning. And we're trying to do that right now in the PM field with getting people to be realistic, quote unquote, about their rents.
Yeah.
Price conditioning is when you come into their presentation to your, say it's a condo, and I think these are renting for about 1,800 around here. No, I'm getting 2,400. I thought I saw. Yeah, I think at the top of the market they might be. I remember there was one down here. So right now, walking in the door, you set the mind for 1,800 is the bar, right?
Yeah.
If you came in and he said, "Oh yeah, they're getting 2,400," and you're like, "Oh yeah, I bet they could."
Good luck ever getting a reduction, right? Price
conditioning. It's a crude term. It's an old term. I'm sure they have some new fluffy word for it now, but it's the same thing. Also, I'm not sure how I can apply it to the buy side, but I know that I can apply it to the listing side, right? Because you want to get your client to agree with your pricing, and to do that, you're probably going to have maybe not in the CMA that you send out, but in the conversations you're having, kind of set that expectation. 700,000 is this house worth 700 grand all day long, and say, "Oh yeah, I remember that one down the street got 620. What was that, 5 months ago or so?" You got to beat them to it.
Yeah. I think you could do it on the buyer side in the same way of just saying same thing you just said, that, "Oh, I think that one around the corner went for this," so they kind of have that in mind of where their offer needs to be in order to be competitive.
Yeah, maybe I could do that. Yeah,
it's just going to be the opposite way, right?
So I was just trying to think of ways to do it, but I do the price conditioning without really thinking about it. But then when the property management started when I started learning more about it and having some issues myself with it, not setting the proper expectation, I kind of, like we were talking about earlier, I went back to some fundamentals.
I love it. And the new fluffy term isn't too different. Somebody else just needed to sell a book and make some money off of it, right? So I've just heard it called price anchoring. So not too different.
but I think going forward as a team in our property management deals, we should incorporate something like that into our presentations.
I love that. Using some price conditioning, give them that bottom number, so that way that's already in their head. So you're leaving an impression there. So that way they're not only stuck on that high number they started at, you introduce what that low end looks like. And that gives you, then you're working it within that in between. So I love that. So Max, kind of shifting gears now towards people who are listening on the call now. What advice would you give to any agent who might know how to sell, but isn't finding the success they're looking for?
Well, we've been touching on it throughout the presentation here. You said, set aside your pride. I try not to have a lot of pride or ego, because you get your ass kicked so many times that it tempers that a bit, right? And if you're out there long enough, you will get your ass kicked. So basically, just forgetting some things I know and buying into the system. What do you got to lose by trying it out? What do you got to lose by asking someone an LP mama instead of whatever you were doing, or if you even knew what you were doing? I didn't. I thought I did, but until the structure was introduced, it just makes things a lot easier. So what I would say is just that. Go back to your fundamentals, build rapport, your price conditioning, always be closing, right? Get them to that next step.
Awesome. I love it. And no money, no deal, right?
No money, no deal. Get the money. GTFM.
Max, this was awesome today. If you guys could drop in the chat some wins, some celebrations for Max, some great things to close us out. Titus asked also, how much time do you use to plan the showing and info? So how much time are you doing in your preparation?
I'll pull disclosures. I don't know that I read them all. I look for what the client's looking for: bed, bath, price, lot square footage, house square footage, neighborhood. So I don't know, maybe an hour.
Yeah. What I heard you say there, Max, is focus on the basics and really make it about the person, not about the property, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really all about them, not about the home. You don't have to be an expert, especially on that first time. A lot of stuff is able to be investigated. Cool. Well, Max, amazing today. I learned so much. I wrote down a ton of notes. I think having that presentation when you go to meet that person and really knowing that flow ahead of time really helped me see the process from your eyes. And I keep saying it, no money, no deal. I mean, getting that lender on the call as soon as possible. We heard Bindi in her last spotlight. She'll meet with people to get their collect the loan docs from them. So same concept from two seasoned pros who are doing it at a high level. Is you guys are on the same wavelength. Is getting the money in order is the most important step. And so I think that's really great for people to hear that maybe are not having that success in closing. It's probably because you're shying away from the money too much.
Always be closing.
Always be closing, get that money.
But
So,
you know, when you're going through your LP Mama, if you're doing each of those steps properly, you're closing a door every time, right?
yeah.
So you're getting them closer to yes. So always be closing in your presentation. You know, ask those closing questions, because when it's time to sign the BRBC or whatever documents in front of them, it shouldn't be you handing them a pen. You know, will you sign? It should be natural. They should grab the pen and sign. It should just be a natural transition. It shouldn't be a close, really.
Love it. Love
If
it.
that makes any sense.
Well, Max, if people want to learn more from you or connect, where can they find more of you at?
They can find me every Tuesday and Friday right here. I think we have a group text. I can send my business card out, but I'm Max at C2 Realty.
Yeah. I love it, guys. I love it, Max. Thanks so much for attending today. Rebecca says, thank you, Max. I like that you process to stay with it. Martin says, thanks for referring me to C2. And Melina says, thanks, Max. So thank you so much for coming on today, Max. We all learned really a lot from you today.
Hope I could contribute.
And dude, the way that you've progressed in such a short amount of time, the sky is really the limit. And, 15 to 20 homes this year, 30 to 40 the following year, and as many as you want to sell in a year and in the years after that.
Can I give us some takeaways for the day?
Can you please?
Takeaways: build rapport, always be closing, be in front of people. The computer will take you so far. That's information without context. You got to be in front of people to get the context. Price conditioning. And work the system. LP Mama, ALM, DSC. So if everybody can leave with that, that'd be great.
Love it. Well said. Thanks, Max. You're awesome, dude.
Till next time.
Thanks, everybody.